Everyone, it's 7:01 as I was kindly reminded, so we want to get started. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to the Planning Commission meeting this evening, and we will open our meeting by having a Pledge of Allegiance by Blake Severing and a reverence led by Amanda Prince.
Bless those in attendance that they will feel that they are being listened to and understood. We ask that thou would please bless our country, please bless the leaders of this nation, that they will make decisions that will bring us closer to thee and closer to peace. And we say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you. First item on our agenda this evening is the consent item. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting dated August 11th? And do you recommend any changes? recommendation on the final approval for the Funk Family Farms subdivision. It's a one-lot subdivision located approximately 4222 South, 500 West. Mr. Jacobs, do you have a presentation for us, please?
Yes. So on the screen you can see here's the Funk Family Farms. This is the parent parcel right here. And this is the section that's being proposed to be subdivided off for a single family dwelling. So this is going through the final plat review, minor subdivision. It's in the R1 zone, so it's 1 acre is what that is. Should maybe just point out here, there was a discrepancy last month where the frontage was 130 feet, and it's been corrected, so it is 150 feet. So that is correct, and the acreage is shown correctly. So key issues from the staff, we've worked through everything. We have all the approval letters from all the outside entities. Landowners have agreed to have the site drain as it historically has. It has drained kind of to the north and to the west. And usually in a land separation or subdivision, you would make them separate those, but they still want to irrigate and farm that land. So the landowners have agreed to keep it as it currently is. Now, it's not an issue if one of them moves or both of them move, and then no one can come back to the city and say, wait, this is flooding us or anything like that. So, and then a waiver for the land use separation fence was also signed. So we have that.
By all, yes, doesn't the,
Property owners to the south?
doesn't the, yeah, and the Bravos, aren't they on the east?
There's already a fence there.
I know, but is it?
Well, they're both residential. So what we're separating from is residential and agriculture.
Yeah, but doesn't it have to be a 6-foot non-climbable fence, and you're saying you're waiving that, right?
Bravos is residential and Jesse's new parcel will be residential. So the separation is from the irrigation or from the ag to,
What about the north boundary with the Fitzwaters or Kent Argyle or whoever owned it before?
there's already a fence there. So this new separation is for anything new. So it's just between Jesse and Chuck. So that's the only new
Okay,
parcel here.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here because I've been through 3 of these and we've already had fences put up. Same thing as this, and I still have to go out and get land separation waivers from 4 other landowners. So either we're gonna be consistent.
We are consistent.
No, we're not. Then
Well,
why did I have to go get 4, Brian?
were you separating ag use to residential use?
No. Right down the line from Sean Moore's and Mike Chavez.
I can't answer.
There's already a fence there and it got rejected and pushed off 1 more month because we needed a land use waiver fence. Same with, you got one coming up,
I can't.
MH Acres. It'll be here in another month. It's the same way. They needed land use separation fence, but it's already got a fence. And it's residential on one side, it's gonna be residential on the other. And the King,
So MH Acres has a land use separation fence between MH Acres and the new parcel. That's the land use separation fence waiver.
already has a fence, Bryant. That's what I'm telling you. Scott Palmer already has a fence and he's residential. And now you're telling MH Acres he has to go get a signed waiver from Scott Palmer.
It's not what I said. You're not
Let me
listening.
get you the minutes. Should I? Because that's exactly what happened. And you did the same thing, you did the exact same thing to Thane 5100 subdivision, and you did the same thing to Aggie And you did the same thing to Venable Acres.
So where do you think the land use separation fence should go?
Well, I'm telling you, everybody that surrounds this subdivision needs to sign a land use waiver, because 3 other subdivisions we've approved had to do it, so why don't we have to do it on this one?
Because this is ag, this
I
is
get
residential.
I get that.
So
I agree
Jesse
100%.
Okay,
All we need is one for the south. But what I'm telling you is the 3 subdivisions I've been involved in, I had to get it for all 4 sides of my subdivision. Regardless of whether I abutted another residential place or I abutted agriculture. So if we're gonna be consistent, then we need it for the north, we need it for the east.
I have no idea what happened in the past, I wasn't here, but I
The mayor does,
don't think they.
and we can go
got
back
that
through the
quite right.
minutes and I can show you every one of them.
Sounds great. For right now, we're focusing on the
What you
farm.
could do for this one is just make a recommendation, however you see fit, to go up to the council for this one. On the ones in the past, we could sure look at it, but let's stay focused on this one, make a recommendation.
The sad part is it costs 3 months worth of BS time, and so the subdivision took 8.5, 9 months to get approved, because every time there was an issue like this, we didn't even get to go before the planning commission. It got kicked back to the city staff. Fix this before you can come back. Fix this before you can come back. And now we're trying to push this one through. Well, it's good to go. It's good enough, so.
Blake, I think you made a mistake on that. I don't think that is quite all the way true.
And my biggest issue is, when I got put into this position, what we want to do is we want to be consistent. Well, right now, we're not being consistent.
I don't think you have that quite right, Blake.
Okay.
So,
Our job is to be consistent with what our ordinances are, right? So as long as what we're doing tonight is consistent with those ordinances, that's what we need to look at.
so we can go back and look at those, Blake. I mean, I wasn't here, so I can't really
I know
say.
you weren't.
So all I know is right now, this blue is an ag, this red is single family residential.
What's north of it? Is that a road right to the north of it?
There's a lane, it's like a private drive,
No, not
and
that.
then
To the north.
it's residential.
Residential.
It's a vinyl fence.
And there is a fence
So
there,
so the definition of land use separation is separating 2 different types of uses.
ag from residential.
And in fact, we have
It sure is.
residential to the east, we have ag to the south, we have residential to the north.
It sure is.
So we just need the one land use separation waiver
Yep,
between the south property and the subject property.
yep, we sure do, so I can think.
So Blake, just focus on the issue at hand right now. Do you agree that there should be one land use separation fence for the Funk Family Farms?
Yep, I do.
Okay, and who do you think that should be between?
It should be between the owner in the blue and the owner in the new owner going in the red.
Okay, so we have that tonight, so
Okay.
we can move forward with that. And things in the past, I mean, you should probably go back and look at that. But I
Too
think
late
that,
now.
well, I think that is an erroneous assumption there. So let's focus on what's here for tonight, move forward with this, and, we can deal with the past later. So back to here, here's the land use separation fence between the parcel that was in blue and the parcel that will be the red parcel. So between Jesse Funk and Chad and Julie Funk. The staff is also recommending that we escrow for the curb, gutter, and sidewalk where it has been done in the city and other places. So the city, this is number 5 is a little bit different. The city is doing a road widening project in 5500 West, beginning at 4200 South, and it's going north. You can see on this map kind of where that's at. The gold or the yellow is our road widening project. The Funks is in blue down there on the corners. You can see we start just at the north of their property. And so the staff is also recommending that our 5500 West road widening project be extended to the south 150 feet. to include this frontage for the Funk Family Farms new lot. So it's just that lot that was in red, not the full red and blue, just the blue. Well, sorry, just the red on the old one. So just the new parcel for Jesse's piece, and that way it's all continuous. If Jesse does put that in now, there's probably about a 99% chance we're gonna have to rip that out and replace it because we don't have all the design quite finished up yet, so we don't know the flow lines, we don't know the elevations. We'd like to roll that into the city's project. So the only difference here is the 150 feet of piping of the ditch would be on the city's project that paid for and by the funds, and that could also be escrow. So here's,
Can I ask you a question on that?
yes.
On the escrow that we require from them, do we escrow like 1.5 times what it is, or just in case those costs go up so that we make sure that we're covered as a city? Or how do you determine what we escrow on?
I think it's just based on what the market is right now, and that's usually, and in the past it's just been curb, sidewalk, gutter, and then half the road width. So this one's a little bit different where there's that traditional part, and then there's the pipe. So that's the difference. But what the staff would like to do is just put that in the developer's agreement that when we get the cost from our road project, then we just take that back to the funds and have them. So we put in an escrow amount right now, kind of a shoe in, so they can get their loan and get moving along. But then once we get a price per linear foot on those items, then we just get the right quantities and basically just have them pay for.
So if it's more, they'll be responsible for the additional.
Correct.
Is that yellow strip the curb gutter as well?
Yes. Curb gutter sidewalk.
And why would we just do that right there as well?
Well, that's what the escrow is for.
No, because I'm just thinking that's item number 4, not item number 5.
So, yeah, we will do this curb. Yes,
So why do you have to separate that as two separate?
because of the ditching, the piping of the ditch. So traditionally we've done curb, sidewalk, and gutter. So that's like a boilerplate thing.
Yeah.
The difference
I know
is-
we do historically. I'm just saying it's
Okay.
kind of weird the way you have it separated out. Why don't we just be all included in the same thing?
Because at our last meeting, then it caused an issue. So we separated it out.
Just to be crystal clear about that.
I think we'll always set aside 2 separate escrows, one for curb and sidewalk. Because it can be done in 2 different phases.
Yeah.
So that they can access the funds.
So is that going to be the same thing where it's going to be, put into one price and if it goes up, then they'll cover that difference as well?
That's a great question. That's not my decision to kind of figure that out. We could, I think we take the escrow for curb, gutter, and sidewalk as we have done elsewhere, but then the piping of the ditch would be in the developer's agreement that the cost be, the linear foot front of it.
Who's gonna control that escrow?
I usually do. The curb, gutter, and sidewalk, the other escrow is held by a bank.
So when you say held by a bank,
So we
does
required,
Hooper City go get the escrow?
so it's under Hooper, it's the escrow's under the developer's name, but they cannot release any of the monies without Hooper City's approval. And so we have to send a signed letter to them saying where we want that money sent. So it's either sent to the city to pay for the work, or it's sent back to the developer if they paid for it before the escrow was released.
So it's not up to the.
It's not up, no, it's not up to the landowner. It is, the city has to release all the money, so.
Okay.
Any other questions on
Any other items? Any other questions for our city engineer? Okay.
Is that it on the memo, the questions?
That's it.
So, where's the irrigation for the remaining parcel? Is it pressurized irrigation?
It's flood.
It's flood? And does it come in from the south or does it come in from the north?
I have no idea.
Can somebody answer that?
It drains to the northwest.
No, I'm saying if I'm gonna flood
So it
irrigate,
must come in from the southeast because it drains drains to the northwest.
It does drain from the south to the north.
So is there any, let me ask you this, for this new one lot subdivision, is there any plans, I guess, to have the front half of that acre still in ag, like continue pasture or whatever?
Yeah, if it's not being used by him.
We should wait for public comment.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Okay, first, let's take this way we're going to do it. You finished with your presentation as far as your information? Any other questions for Mr. Jacobs?
And I don't know if this is what Blake was getting at, but, you know, if they flood or if that's going to go and flood out that new house. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, that, and how are they gonna,
Let's get a representative from this property up
How are
here
they
that
gonna
we can ask
control?
questions of. Is there someone here representing the Funk Family Farms? Would you like to come forward so that we can maybe address some questions to you?
Chad Funk, 4260 South, 5500 West.
Okay. So apparently there's a question on how this, how the water's going to drain off of this new parcel of land. Can you help us understand that?
Yeah, the water cannot get to where he's putting his house, which is on the top part, because it slopes from the south to the north, which is towards his house. But the water comes in on the east-south corner. And there's no way for the water to run uphill to his place.
Okay.
Because it is
We were told
uphill.
earlier that the water drains to the northwest.
It does, yeah, it comes in on the southeast and goes to the other corner, but it can't,
He shows on the map.
yeah. So it comes in here, there used to be a ditch over here that is no longer here, that used to water this part. This comes in here and it flows down through here, it cannot run, this is an uphill here. It cannot run up to this property.
He's putting his house on the eastern portion of
He's
that.
putting it up here,
And so it will still drain down to the northwest corner.
yes. And this area down here gets flooded all the time and it doesn't go up that far.
And as far as the, when we pipe in the ditch, you'll put, obviously have to be some kind of a drain or something.
There'll still be a drain there,
Accessing.
yes.
So the remainder parcel, the blue parcel, will still water from the south to the north, from the southeast to the northwest corner of the property.
Right.
Any other questions for Mr. Funk? No? Okay. Seeing no other questions, thank you. Appreciate your explanation on that. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment regarding this request for subdivision of the Funk Family Farms? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close public comment, bring it back to commissioners for any other discussion.
the application is not, to me, is not complete. There's no date submitted. There's no engineer's name. There's no notification that the preliminary fee has been paid. Do we know if they've paid their application fee?
Yes, they have.
Our city treasurer verified that he's been paid.
And, okay, let me ask you one more question. Since a single lot subdivision does not have a preliminary approval,
They only have a subdivision fee. They don't have anything like a major subdivision does.
Right.
So
But
yeah.
what I guess what I'm getting at on this then is, on the plat, where it's a final plat approval, are we not supposed to see the location of the home to make sure that the front easement, the back easement? the
So that's
side
part of their
easement-
building permit approval. So that, when they go for building permit review,
Okay.
that they take the plat. So what you guys are doing right now is you're approving the plat. The
only
plat
reason-
will have all the easements and everything on it. And so then when the building permit is submitted, they have to turn in a site plan showing exactly where the house is, distances from all property lines, from any other structures that may be on the property or anything like that. And then that's what our plan reviewer approves based on what's on the plat that you guys are approving tonight.
The only reason I asked is on the one in August, it was on there, now it's off. So.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with the plat. So that's all based on the building permit approval later down the road.
Any other questions?
About the square footage.
Discussion?
You know about that.
I guess it's me again.
We did note on the Funk Family Farm subdivision plat, the preliminary that's been submitted to us, that the boundary description doesn't agree with your lot 1 square footage. You've got 46,801.
If you wanna pull out your calculator, I'll show you how this works.
Okay.
But does the boundary description match now?
It does.
Okay.
And why does it say on the boundary over there, it says 50,230?
Cause you're not doing your math.
What I'm saying is what's written on the plan.
No, what I'm saying is you didn't do your math right. This
I'm
is-
not the one that put the map on the boundary, on the,
Pull out your calculator, Blake.
now, stop. Because if you go over to the boundary description, it says right on there, 50,234.
Listen to me, pull out your
And
calculator.
now we're saying it's 46,801, so which one is correct? Blow that up where it says boundary description.
It's not square, so that's fine.
Go like this.
It's not square. I got 5235, I put on my origination.
So, somebody here, Amanda, would you pull out your calculator and add 46,801, please? Punch that in and add that to 3,433. What does that number come out to be?
50,234.
Okay, so we're,
Could you say that one more time?
50,234.
Thank you very much.
so is the
So-
law 46,801 or is it 50,000? What I'm saying is what's printed on the plat.
I'm saying those two numbers make this. This was what
The boundary description
the boundary description is.
goes into the center of the road, correct?
There are two lots that are
Yeah.
being created here, Blake. One is lot 1, one is the road dedication to the city. If you add those two lots together, it makes the total lot that is being surveyed on this plat.
Okay, so the dedicated right-of-way, that can be included in the frontage?
It is part of
I know it's funds,
the parent parcel that is being divided.
so even though the Bravos have access to that,
That has nothing to do with what we're
they
talking
can
about.
include that 16 and a half.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
The two numbers, because historically,
You had a
lot was
different
surveyed
picture that showed
to
that
the
blue
middle of
strip
the
that
road.
was blue going up. Can you go back?
historically, the lots were surveyed to the middle of the road. And now that we've come back here and we're making another lot out of it, this boundary description still includes to the middle of the road.
Right.
They're dedicating that blue to the west back to the city.
Right, and that was.
And that results in-
3,500.
And that's why the boundary description is different than
Okay,
the new lot, number 1, because new lot number 1 is only the 46,000.
So lot number 1 is Jesse's. The remainder parcel is this in blue.
right.
And then this is actually kind of a third lot that is the road dedicated to the city.
That's
So
what I was asking, do we include that or don't we? And that answered the questions.
Yes.
Right.
That is why,
That's
So-
why the two different square footages.
that is why this dark line comes all the way to here, because it includes these two, because this is the parcel that's being carved out.
Okay.
Otherwise, Chad would have this little goiter hanging out here that the city would be owning and operating. So the city's making, the city basically is taking that road frontage.
Right,
It's part of the plan.
Makes sense.
okay.
And that's why the 50,234 is there, because this is being peeled off from Chad's parent parcel.
All right. Thank you, appreciate that. Any other questions on this? Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion on the request for the application for subdivision.
I
for Funk Family
will,
Farms.
motion that we recommend final approval of the Family Farm subdivision located at approximately 4222 South, 5500 West for Jesse Fund.
Okay, we have a motion to approve it. Do we have a second?
All second.
Okay. All those in favor of this motion?
I
Nay.
We have
Okay, so just one second.
Commissioners Prince and Greener, positive, and Severie for the negative. That's still a majority, still passes. And I would like to just mention on that, we had questions last month on the right-of-way. There was concerns for the people living back behind. That's a permanent right-of-way.
Yes.
It can never be impeded on, can't be built on, can't be obstructed in any way.
Right.
You're aware of that, right?
Yep.
You can use it because it's yours, but so does your neighbor. Have every right to use it.
That was the plan.
Perfect. Okay, the next item on our agenda this evening is a recommendation on the final approval for a K. Roberts subdivision. It's a one-lot subdivision, also located at 4512 West, 5500 South. This is Mr. Kyle Roberts' request. We have a presentation on this one.
Yes.
Perfect.
This is the Kyle Roberts subdivision, and you can see where that's kind of located. And this is the parcel that's being peeled off. And right there. This is the final plat review because it is a minor subdivision. It's in the R2 zone, so that's 1/2 acre, so 20,000 square feet. You can see that I don't know which one you want to call the remainder, but it's getting subdivided. The blue is 20,000 right on, and then the red is 31,278 square feet. All of the issues have been addressed from the letters, and when we have all the letters from the outside entities. One thing that we did have was when UDOT reviewed it, 5500 West is a state road, and so they have to get acceptance from UDOT. And UDOT granted a limited access to, in this case it was the red parcel, from the existing driveway that is on the, maybe back up here. There's 4 driveway approaches. There's 2 on the red, and there are 2 on the blue. So as part of this, UDOT wanted the 2 on the red to be filled in, but he can keep the 2 on the blue. Okay? You'll see that here in just 1 second. So then Kyle petitioned that the existing driveway approach be moved on the red, and it'll show you here. So this is a little bit small. You can see these green are the existing, so there's 1, 2 for lot 1, and there's 1, 2 for lot 2. So UDOT was going to require that these 2 for lot 2 be removed, take out the curb approach, and then Kyle would like to access this lot from the back and come off of this existing driveway. So UDOT said that they were okay with that, and this existing access could be moved to here, and that one be abandoned. So it'd still have 2 accesses, and then UDOT would be okay with an access. Actually, I have this a little bit bigger. There you go. So shifting this access to the west slightly, and so this could be used on occasion to access lot 2. UDOT said they were fine with that. So now the question is,
Do we have a letter from UDOT stating that?
yes. So then from our city ordinance, double frontage lots and access to lots. So here's where you guys make your big decisions. Double frontage lots and access to lots. Double frontage and reverse frontage lots shall be avoided except where necessary to provide separation of residential development from traffic arterials or to overcome specific disadvantage of topography and orientation. So we're fine there. E says lots shall not, which is pretty strong, in general, which is not pretty strong, access exclusively from an arterial or collector street. What in the heck does that even mean? So is that saying, because that would mean that lot number 2 would have access from the front and access from the back, but is not connected, so that doesn't make it a through. We do not allow in the city a through passage, so that this is not a through passage. But the question is, what does E really say? Shall not in general.
Good thing we have a lawyer here.
So we're,
Provide exclusively.
yeah, I think the word exclusively that you've got highlighted there, refer to the arterial collector streets, which in this case is 5500 South. That's the main arterial street. He has other access on to the north.
So the main access is from that
Yeah,
42.
North kind of says it can't exclusively access it, but if he's got another access.
He's got a cemetery access there, so. Driveway access from an arterial or collector street may be necessary for several adjoining lots that the planning commission may require served by a combined access drive. Okay, not doing that, although we will have the one combined access drive. So lot 1 will have an exclusive driveway. There'll be one in the middle that can be used for both lots 1 and 2. But then lot 2 will have an exclusive driveway on the south side,
Mhm.
On the north.
or to the north side, accessing out of the
Right.
surface street.
So I don't think you have a problem with E with this particular subdivision, because it has that other access.
I think we're okay with it. I don't think we're going against our ordinance.
Okay.
Does he need to have that type of like right of way like those other people did to himself? In case he ever sells it or something
That's what
like that?
my question was, like, where it's technically.
Because also he has that other road that goes up to that garage that's on.
Yeah, that's a
Sue's
great
property.
question.
So is there some sort of
Right.
right of way?
So right here, this is an easement. This is a sewer easement, and then is there a P? I can't remember. I can't see that small. There's a sewer easement, and then there's a Hooper City Utilities and a drainage easement. So right through the center, these two lines, these two parallel lines, are an easement right from here to here. So.
Of which that garage straddles it.
No.
We think it's actually, we think it's just we think the survey's off on that.
Okay.
Or
But
maybe
either way,
it's
the access to
Hooper
that
City
garage
Utility
is from
easement.
lot 1, right? Excuse me? Access to that garage is from lot 1.
from lot one. It would be from right here. So it wouldn't be bad to grant himself an easement here for if he sells either of these two lots. That way it's solidified.
But once again, that's not a planning commission issue. You
It's
have a
not.
building on your lot that you may or may not be able to get to if you sell it. You know what I mean?
Nice to meet you.
Hold on. Okay, finish your,
So
any other issues?
with that, the staff recommends to approve the subdivision on condition of removing the western 2 drive approaches on lot 2, and then depending on, the modification of the existing drive approach, probably would go with that.
No ditches along 55. It's all 50.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Jacobs? Okay, thank you, appreciate that information. Representative? For Mr. Roberts, would you like to step up here to share your knowledge with us, please?
My name's Kyle Roberts, 4512 West, 5500 South, and I kind of dressed as a tomato just to show you how committed I am to Hooper City, Mr. Mayor.
Gotcha. Good job.
So, I've talked with UDOT quite extensively, and they've approved me being able to just make that one approach just a little bit bigger. You know, they give me 30 feet total, so it's just that.
So you're not moving
No,
the
it's
second
just
one, you're just gonna
no,
widen it?
this white. And yeah, they were very good on everything with except paying for it. They didn't want to pay for it. So, but you know, I've talked with them extensively with their engineers. They're just finishing up all the paperwork, paid my fees to them. So
And we have a letter from them saying that they've approved this
Yes.
plan with so the two approaches on the west side will be closed off,
yeah,
and they'll be made
Yeah.
into urban gutter.
yeah,
And then your middle approach right now is gonna be widened.
yeah. They'll just
And the east
widen by
stay
about
the
10
same.
feet, I believe. So
Okay.
and that keeps me happy, and I hope you guys happy. So
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Roberts? Okay,
thank you. Appreciate your time.
thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there someone in the audience who would like to make a comment regarding Mr. Roberts' request? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public hearing, bring it back to the planning commission for any further discussion. Okay, seeing none, then let's entertain a motion for the request for Mr. Roberts.
I'll recommend the approval of the final, I make a motion that we recommend approval of the final plat approval of the K. Roberts subdivision with the 4512 west to 200 south with the draft a list of recommendations, the city staff recommendations for the approach changes.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Greener to recommend approval for this. Are we recommending approval or are we
Recommend.
recommending approval for it with the condition that we have the two driveway approaches and modifications put into effect? Correct?
I'll second the motion.
And we have a second from Commissioner Severing. So all those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the last item on our agenda this evening is a public hearing and consideration for a recommendation on the preliminary approval of Pheasant Acre subdivision. This is an 8-lot subdivision located at approximately 2900 south and 5100 west. Mr. Jacobs, do you have a presentation on that one?
Yes. So here's the Pheasant Acre subdivision. From this blue square, you can see where we kind of overlap. There's two parcels here that are in this subdivision. You can see this one is a little bit just barely inside, and that is why on the application this parcel is vastly in the flood zone. Flood zone is right at the toe of this subdivision, so you can kind of see how that parcel lines up there. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity to.
So let me just flip back there, please.
Yeah.
So the light blue line that we see that goes up and then jogs to the right, that's one existing parcel.
Yes, this is one parcel. This is a second parcel.
Okay, and
What's that crooked line on the?
yeah, right there, what's that one?
That is the parcel line.
Okay,
So that's the boundary.
extends over it,
and the blue that extends over it squares it off?
That's the new.
The blue that extends over it is the new. So you can see
Okay.
this is squarish. This doesn't have that
Okay.
little
Right,
doodad
Thank you.
right here. So let's go back here. So
Where's our floodplain? Because we're at 4220, right?
yeah, it is right here, right off the subdivision. So they pushed this.
It's like 4 feet away.
They pushed this right to the very edge here. So yeah,
so what is our elevation on that west boundary?
4220,
4220, right on?
right on there. Mm-hmm.
Can you go back up? I thought it was 4222. Not that it matters.
Yeah. Let me go go to the next slide.
2 feet, 2 feet could make a difference if it's wet.
It's your
Yeah,
base.
back in the 80s.
So this is the going for, I don't know why I have final, that was a misnomer. This is not final plat approval, because this is not a minor subdivision, so that was a mistake there.
Yeah, this is preliminary.
This is
approval.
preliminary. So there's 8 lots. This is in the R1, so it's 1 acre lots. All of them have the correct frontage and have the correct acreage. And key issues from staff. This one we kind of went the rounds on and trying to get everything to work out. Part of their problem was if you drop, everything drains to the west, and to the west, you get close to that floodplain, elevate everything that way. They also wanted to drain sewer without a pump, without a lift station, and so they kind of had to do this balancing act to get storm drain and the sewer to work.
And
we were able to get that
you did achieve that
We did
without a pump
achieve that.
station.
without a pump station.
So the sewer line is gonna run to the east?
Gravity's to the east and dumps into the main line, going to central, or let's see, is that North Weaver, Central Weaver?
Central Weaver.
Central Weaver. So, a couple iterations with that, but we did get that to work. We did get letters of approval from all of the outside entities. And, that was, they are gonna, yeah, that's all we have, so, pretty simple at this point.
All right, thank you. Is there a representative here for the Pheasant Acre subdivision? Give us your name and
Yeah, Daryl Sheets, 4872 South, 5300 West of Hooper. So we own both those lots that are touching each other. Yeah, this is something we've been talking about for quite a while, and I think we have a really good plan to make this happen on the 1 acre lots. So the floodplain issue, like we said, I think we've pushed that as far as we can, and we do have elevation plots and everything that will enough fill that's going to come in and obviously make this all work. So we're looking forward to making it happen. I know there's some concerns with adjoining properties, and we've addressed a little bit of that also, some water issues, but I think we have good ways forward on all of that. So if you have any questions for me.
I'm pleased.
Yeah.
I know you have been dealing with this for quite a while and trying to find a good way to use that land, and this is really a good solution for what you've been trying to do. So I like it. I'm happy with it.
Any questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Sheets? Any commissioners? Okay, seeing none, thank you, appreciate it. Anyone else have a comment regarding this? This is a public hearing.
Yes.
If you'd like to step forward, give us your name and address, and tell us your concerns.
I'm Steve Davis, at 2877 South, 5100 West. I'm the landowner to the immediate north of this proposed subdivision. There is a drainage ditch that drains farmland from the east side of 5100 immediately across this proposed subdivision all the way to the south to 3300. That water then turns to the comes to the northeast corner of the subdivision, proposed lot, and then heads west down the north side. That provides the main source of water that I have on my property. And there's an existing water right for point of diversion issued to the Department of Natural Resources there. There's been ongoing water disputes at this point for decades. And to the best of my knowledge, that has not been resolved and completed. So I would like to understand what the plan is to make sure that we are still getting our water and that is not being infringed upon. Also, we've got concerns about the privacy issues on our property as all of those lots will be facing, now their back lots will be looking right into our property, so there were privacy issues as well there. But again, my main concern is the water issues and how is that being resolved, and I want to make sure that our rights aren't being infringed upon.
Okay, let me ask you just a couple questions. When I'm looking at this map, I see the blue box, it's our subject property.
Yes.
You're directly to the north in those,
Right there.
that piece right there?
Yes.
So where does your irrigation water come?
All of this land
Okay.
drains down into a ditch that comes down the east side of the property and then turns and heads west right here. And there's a diversion point that comes into our pond.
Okay.
And so as I mentioned, there's been ongoing water disputes about the water at this point. And to the best of my knowledge, that's never been resolved. And I want to make sure that, you know, either as part of this development, that gets resolved properly, or, you know, whatever we need to do to make sure that my water rights for these parcels here are not infringed.
Well, if the irrigation water goes across that east boundary line, then they need to pipe that with RCP 1 and then turn it to the west, and they'll put a box right there on the northeast corner, and then they need to pipe it to the west so that you can get your water out.
Yeah, the main problem that's been is there was the original water right that was granted, and then a second one was trying to be placed on it right at the same diversion point, but it's a slough area there. And so through the years, that second water right has never been able to be perfected because it required a certified metering device to make sure that my water was being sent to me and any excess the other direction.
Who gives you your water? Taylor West Weaver or Hooper Irrigation?
It's through the Department of Natural Resources, so it doesn't come through either one. It's through there.
But that's a third entity that's involved. Well,
Yes.
as far as the approval of this 8-lot subdivision, the water continuance, so that water usage isn't ever infringed on.
The problem I see, though, is that the ditch is on this property. So the development of this property will either ultimately ensure my water right or destroy it
Right.
completely.
And the developer agreement will be part of it. When that's brought in and we look at all the undergrounds and everything that can be done, we will make certain that that water continues to flow where it's supposed to go.
Okay, because we've never seen anything about
Right.
that. The
Yeah.
first I heard is the letter that come from the commission
Right,
saying
and,
that we're
and
talking
right now
about
what we're doing tonight is just looking at this proposal,
this. Mhm.
and, because we don't have all the details, we don't have all the undergrounds, we don't have all of the specs
Certainly.
and all of that, for how they propose to develop it. We're looking at an 8-lot subdivision, does it comply with our zoning regulations? And do they have adequate frontage, and are they doing all of those things? And so, when we get into the more nitty-gritty of it, that's when we'll be looking at, okay, how's the undergrounds being handled? How's the water being distributed? Is it being taken care of? Appreciate your concern, and it's a good time to bring up these questions and bring up these concerns, because now we're aware of them as well. And so when we go forward, when we see future plans, we can say, hey, remember that gentleman, Mr. Elliott, that was telling us he had a concern about getting water to his property? Make sure we're taking care of that. So I appreciate you coming here tonight and sharing it with us.
All right, thank you.
But our purpose tonight is to not worry about how we get water to your corner of your property at the moment. But we are aware of it.
As long as that gets settled before it's done, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
I have a question regarding that, just for Grant, and I don't know if you can answer this or not. We normally have a memo with us that we can kind of refer to. So I'm just curious if that's something that the city staff was already aware of. Normally, when we get like a preliminary approval request or something like that, it talks about this ditch needs to be piped, or where this is with the Division of Wildlife Resources, or Water Resources, whatever it's called. This is unique. I haven't seen something like that come in before, so I'm just curious if that's something we were aware of.
Yeah, we're aware of that, and there is a proposal to pipe, and then as we turn and have that slough be piped, and then when it comes off of this Pheasant Acres subdivision, then it will go back to open channel.
Okay. I just didn't want it to come in for final approval and then have us say, okay, sorry, before that, we need to figure out this piping
Yeah.
situation. I just want to make sure it's in what they have already, so they're going to take care of it and address it. Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else else here who would like to make a comment regarding this request?
Yeah. Hannah Gooch, 3051 South, 5100 West. I'm on the south side of the property, and there's an easeway, there's a roadway that goes down to our back pasture.
Can you show me that on
It just starts here, goes down, and across and down.
Okay.
So based on what they want to do here, that
Take it away.
it'll be taken away.
Is that a recorded?
Is it recorded?
It is recorded.
Well, then you can't take it away. It's recorded.
Does that change then the square footage of the lot 5,
So
6, 7, and
they wouldn't be able to fence all the way back to the back of the property lines.
Yeah.
The people that buy those.
So it backs on lots 8, 7, 6, and 5?
So you can see it's right here shaded in.
Oh,
You
yes.
See that, you can see that it's shaded right there.
Uh-huh.
The proposal is to, let me get this mouse to that right. The proposal is to eliminate that road and give easement so that you can come through the subdivision. And then there's an easement right here that will turn and come down and attach to that road.
Oh,
So,
So it would take
But-
away your.
But that doesn't work, because how do I bring equipment down and then turn and go along that fence line?
not
So-
only that, but they want you to, you're saying farm equipment through the
Yeah.
subdivision.
So we're gonna drive it through their subdivision, and then we're gonna take out their fence.
but you own the property to the south along the fence line, correct?
No, they own it.
Along the
No.
south
But
side, along the south side of lot 5,
Yes,
6,
that's
7, and
me.
8?
But
That's
that
you.
roadways has always been there.
So
and
why can't you drive down your own property?
Because the roadway is there.
So it's their land, but it's your easement on their land, is that what I'm
Yes.
understanding? And by this development, it will take away that access.
It'll
and
take
they want
away
you to
that
access it clear from the cul-de-sac.
And then I'll go through their cul-de-sac and then take out that last house.
How long's that roadway been in there?
My whole life. I'm
But I think
58.
I think one way to handle it is, you look at this as a preliminary approval tonight,
Yes.
Okay.
and this is an issue that exists between landowners, and we don't have the authority as a city to dictate something that's legally recorded anyway, so
Can we even change the?
it'll be something that'll have to get figured out by the landowners. I don't see it as an impediment to a preliminary approval, I guess, all I'm saying.
So when if we motion for a recommendation to approve the preliminary plat, would we put the contingency in there that this needs to be resolved? I don't have a memo, so I don't know if that's already in there, or I just want to make sure we don't miss it. Because we can't approve it how it is, it can't go how it is, right, if she doesn't agree to it.
It depends, it's hard for me to say sitting up here, because I don't know, I haven't read the easement, it depends on what the easement says. But typically, we just don't get involved as a city into dictating between the two landowners. It just has to come to us in a format that'll work. And so, with it being preliminary, I don't see an issue with it.
But even though it's a preliminary, let's say Hannah does not sign her rights over to this easement that's been there her whole life because she's used it, so it's a dedicated easement. After 7 or 10 years, I can't remember.
But again, I'm not gonna.
Well, what I'm saying
it's an
is
easement or
that-
not. I don't even know if it's a real easement.
But
I don't know
if
what it
that's
is.
the case, then doesn't lot 5, 6, 7, and 8, now it shrinks, and so they're under an acre?
Maybe, but an easement is an ownership. An easement might just be a right to drive over it. But you don't own the land. Which
I know,
would
but-
impair the size of the lot.
Well, the thing is, let's say that easement's 18 feet, you know how big it is, it's 18, 20,
I didn't think it was an easement, so I just knew it was the road.
So we would just, that needs.
Well, let's just say worst case scenario is 20 feet wide, which is bigger than the last one, times 150 feet in front, which is 3,000 feet. Every single one of these has more than that to give on its square footage to still be over 40,000 feet. So
Okay.
Well, but like Brandon was saying, an easement doesn't mean she owns the land. It's
Just
still,
to have the
it wouldn't
front.
affect the square footage.
No.
It just means
It's
she has a
still-
right to.
I'm just saying, worst case scenario, if they basically gave that up and basically
sold
deeded
the
over
land or
that
something.
road to them, then they'd still be fine.
There's not an existing fence on the north side of that roadway that you use.
So it's something that definitely should be worked out, but again, it also affects square
But that's the
footage.
point too, is that ground to the south isn't residential, right? So they would have to put in a land separation fence.
They, they got one
There's already one there.
fence.
Well, it's on the
Proposed.
south side of the
Yeah.
roadway right there where he's got his curb.
I'm just saying that could cause issues with that easement.
Yeah. If you have an easement, yeah.
Does anyone else like to make a comment regarding this issue? Request, I guess, it's not really an issue.
Tom Favero, 1295 North, 4700 West. I'm here representing Favero Farms LC. And if we could go back to the original map, we own the property on the opposite side of the street. So these two pieces right here. Our master drains come through this property and come out into this corner, which comes into this ditch, which drains into this pond, which goes into the end of the reservoir, then comes through that property, then ends up in our property again.
You own the property to the west there?
Here and here. And we've been in, Mr. Avis described, we've been in a dispute with who gets the water. Well, as you can see, Mother Nature told you who got the water. There was a dam put here and it always goes that way. Well, Mr. Roger Rawson decided he wanted a pond over here, so he dug a ditch and has been trying to prove up on some water for years, but it actually all goes in here and goes that way and should have stayed that way. But we've been suing each other back and forth whenever we get a chance and feel like we've got extra money we want to throw away. But to alleviate this, you could pipe this whole, whatever length of this needs to be piped for the subdivision. And between Mr. Avis's house and Mr. Spires' house is another access point to come into this drainage right about here. And all our drains and everything would come over here and go into there, and it could be left open and stay open rather than have to pipe this and come down here and come in. Because all of these underground drains will not be at the level that our engineer will argue with me over and over that, oh, it only needs to be this deep, not that deep, this deep. And so it won't work. These drains are at 6.5 and 7 feet, plus the sewer line goes through here, which they were able to get their sewer to come across. Well, they bullseyed all our drainage, so it's even deeper now. And we haven't had an issue because we've been in a drought since 2016. But when this turns into a wet cycle again, this will be houses. That pipe will probably be in the wrong elevation and you can't do anything about it. Over between the Avis and Spires property, they'll never pipe that drain and it'll always be at the right. We can go in and dredge it or do whatever we need to do to make these drains work on this side to get the water to them and to get the water to us. Just a thought.
We do have it.
Well, it was supposed to be shared in about 1990 something. The Rawsons filed for some of that water. It read that Avis and Spires were first because it used to belong to Saunders. And Saunders is right down at the state read that they got it first and we got the overflow over their pond second. Then Rawson's decided they wanted to put in for some water. Well, the Department of Natural Resources said, go ahead, put in for it. You need to make a device, prove up on it, make the device deliver the water to the Spires and Avis property, then to the Favero property. Then what was left over went to the Rawson property. They never did make the device. It's never been made, so that has failed. It never did prove up. Spires and Avis still have the water right, and we have the overflow over the end of their pond.
So what we're looking at as a planning commission is to make sure that the way the waters run today is not impeded.
Yes, but if we want to save us all a bunch of heartache, since Roger decided that he didn't want to be in Weber County and joined Hooper, we used to get the drag line or the long stick or whatever to clean this drain, and clean all this all the way out to the lake. Well, when you joined Hooper City, Hooper doesn't have the equipment to do that, and it hasn't been done ever since.
So now.
And so now to get the county to come and do it, they've been telling us hell no for a long time. And Hooper doesn't have the equipment, and so our drain has been suffering, but we haven't noticed a problem on the farmland. When we start noticing, then we're going to be back in a big legal fight again. We don't want to do that. We want to just get it right. And I think if they piped across the front and went into the pond from a different direction, it's another couple 100 feet across Mike's lot.
So you're saying, right
Continue
there,
to pipe north and then drop it into the pond right there.
It's between the two homes, so,
Where's the two houses?
it's
Right here.
little
That's
higher.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just continue here and drop it in right there. Yeah.
Instead of coming down. Okay,
So this
once
is,
again,
is this the slough
And-
right here?
Yes, and it goes a little further
Yeah.
to the west there than your pointer,
Yeah.
right into that area,
Yeah, right
big
here.
slough area.
Okay. So this is.
Let's see, scroll it up just a little more. Yeah, I guess that is where it goes in, right, Mike?
right there.
Yeah, right there.
Steve, right?
Yep, that's the
Yeah,
version one.
right here, yeah. But you can't even tell that drain, you could stand in it and put somebody on your shoulders when it was at the right level. I had a Hispanic fellow come across the road one year and swerved for a cat, pickup in right here, and you couldn't tell, all you could see is the mirror, barely, that much out of the ground. I didn't even know where the pickup was. So that's how deep those drains were years ago, but they're filled in now.
All right, well, I appreciate your information.
But this drainage is a problem, and Mr. Peterson probably want to get up. His all comes the same direction off of their parcel, and they all meet in this corner and go that way, and it's going to affect his ground, it's going to affect our ground, because if we continue to farm and we don't get this in at the right elevation, it pushes all that water back up.
And all the
And so-
alkali you've worked so hard to get rid of is back.
Right.
All
So
right,
we've got to get it right.
I agree, and that's exactly what we want to do, and we appreciate your input so that we are aware of these things, and when we look at the details, this, like I say, tonight, preliminary approval for Pheasant Estates for an 8-lot subdivision, doesn't take into account all of the engineering and all of those tiny things, it's just step number 1.
Right, so it puts everybody aware, but where we're not in Hooper and we're in Weber County, we would love to be notified. Matt Peterson,
Our,
the Pharaohs.
Everybody within 600
Everybody
feet
within 600
gets
feet
notified.
gets
That's why you got
notified.
the letter before.
Okay. All right, as long as
It
we
will continue
to-
that way.
As long as we continue to get notification.
Yep.
exactly.
Thank you.
Okay,
Matt Peterson, 3465 West, 2050 South in Taylor. I farm the ground immediately to the east of this property. Just as Mr. Rivero said, I'm going to show you on the map. This is all my family ground here, and I farm. That's my full-time profession. There's land drains all through this property that my great-grandfather put in, and they all come to this corner right here. And from my count, there's at least 4 drains that come into this corner. And I think it's really important, like what Mr. Favero said. I wasn't aware of the idea of going this way, but this pipe, if this slough is piped, the elevation is critical to my farming operation to gravity flow out
west.
west. And I would like to see a box put there so I can maintain my drain. Every spring I like to go monitor, see my drain that's running, see if it's plugged up, if it has a problem. So I'd like to see a box in that corner. We can open up the lid and look at our drain and make sure it's flowing properly.
And I would assume with our correct engineering that we definitely have a box on that corner,
Yeah.
especially where there's so much water.
There's a lot of water coming in right there.
Needs to be monitored and diverted and directed and the way it needs to be.
I just wanted to let the planning commission be aware that there's a big drainage need here, and we gotta get it right, to maintain the integrity of the farmland all in the area.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's what we want to do, is get it right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katie Davis, and I live at 2877 South, 100 West, just the north property. I realize after sitting here that this may not be the biggest problem in everyone's minds, and it may not even be something that you guys can solve, but I wanted it to be recorded. With the addition of this subdivision here, all of this, if I may, all of this is undeveloped. So we have natural wildlife out here, and I have written down just some of the few, even just birds. I have a list of about 20 different birds here that live on this pond. And my concern is, with the addition of a subdivision here, noise pollution, light pollution at night, how is that going to affect the ecological system that we have here? We have a great blue heron living on this pond. We have American white pelicans that have nested on this pond. And I feel like this may have been something that was overlooked, but I wanted to bring it up. That this, once we add houses here, that it's not something that can be reversed. These animals will flee. We have a black-crowned night heron, which is a rare nocturnal bird that actually nests in these trees on the north side of the pond. Again, I realize that you guys probably can't do anything about that, and that my plea is in vain. But I really wanted it to be made known. I think it's a little ironic that they're naming their subdivision after pheasants when they are literally ripping away part of their land. This is something that we enjoy. This is something that, my grandparents, the spires just north of us enjoy, and this is going to be stripped away from us because of this subdivision and because of human activity, including noise and light pollution and loss of land. So I just wanted to put that on the record, that we're not happy about that either, and that it's a loss.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. They have been duly noted. Anyone else have a comment regarding this request? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to our commissioner. Do you have any further discussion on this request?
I just echo what was said. I feel like if we recommend approval, we need to make sure that the water situation is addressed, and that it sounds like you guys are aware of it and you've got plans for what they need to do to make that happen, so that it addresses all of their concerns, hopefully. And I feel bad about the birds. But unfortunately, I don't think there's anything we can do about that.
Okay, seeing no other discussion, then I would entertain a motion on the request for a subdivision site plan for Pheasant Acres in the R1 zone.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend approval on the preliminary plat approval for Pheasant Acres, 8-lot subdivision at 2900 South, 5100 West.
Preliminary. We have a motion to recommend approval for the preliminary plat. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Prince. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. So that's been passed. Right, I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight. We can open this meeting now to public comment on any item that's not on the agenda. If someone would like to step forward, we will give you 3 minutes of our time. Okay, seeing none, then we're going to...
Mary?
Oh, here we go.
So Colton Severing, 5629 South 700 West. Appreciative of Bryant being on the full city staff, because I think that's going to help progress things forward. But I've noticed tonight that there's a lot of inconsistencies in the packet that's sent out for subdivision, I guess, requirements. So I know the last time that subdivision was, or that packet was updated was 15, 16 years ago.
Which packet are you referring to?
This is a minor subdivision packet.
Oh,
What plans do we have? So now that Brian's here, I think there's a better chance, because you're going to be the one reviewing them all, to standardize it a bit more. So are there any plans to standardize that? And particularly remove requests such as PDF or floppy disk files, because that is actually a requirement, is to provide a floppy disk of the plat. So just to show the difference.
floppy disk.
I didn't know
Okay.
there was still such a thing.
So-
Colton, I appreciate you bringing that to
Well,
our attention.
yeah, so are
And
there any
obviously it
plans?
needs our attention too.
Are there any plans to get that updated?
We're trying to start with Title 10 and then move along, so.
Yeah, I know city council is working through first Title 10, and then we're going through every ordinance and everything.
Okay.
So it is an ongoing thing, but it is top priority now that we've got our general plan
General plan done, yeah.
behind us, and we can start working on keeping our ordinances up to date.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other new business that someone would like to bring forward? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close public comment, and I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming this evening. Appreciate all the community involvement.